Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
We showed the wrong part. We should have shown you attempting to get the show on the air this morning. I mean, it was a show unto itself. I was a witness. I mean, you're out there, and I think you hit every button.
I think I may have. It's even the ones that I wasn't sure exactly what they were doing. I was hitting them, thinking, well, this can't be worse. Let's try this.
Tomorrow on the show, we will have Tommy McCarthy from the Phillies Network. Tommy, by the way, is going to be here to do the Indiana game on CBS on the 28th. We're going to have on the show tomorrow Chris Wheeler.
Nice.
37 years on the Phillies Network. Since retired, but good friend.
Wheels, absolutely.
Neil Coulong on the show. Friday, Paul Keels, the voice of Ohio State. And also Tony Knopp on the business of sports will join us from the West Coast. So that's what we have on the show this week, guest-wise. Today, because he ran out of 49er gear, he's wearing that. So time now for 49 good San Francisco seconds.
That's 49 seconds longer than the 49ers were good in the third quarter on Sunday, either way. But just still waiting on Christian McCaffrey. The news on his injury. I think at the very best, you probably rest him for Monday night. They take on the Vikings in Minnesota. I would hope they're going to be playing angry a little bit in that game, but we'll see.
Angry
meaning bounce back, get back on track.
They got into a fight before the Cleveland game.
They did.
How much anger do you want?
They did. It didn't work. Seems like Debo and Trent Williams are always close to the fight.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would not pick a fight with Trent Williams. I could be wrong. Debo's more my size, but Trent Williams, I'm in a world of trouble.
I mean, I'm watching you all the time picking fights with Kyle Leff in the hallway. I don't understand what the deal is with that. Right? You need to keep your left tire.
I'll tell you, it hurts me in my later rounds.
So here we are to Tuesday. It's one of those weeks. Right? So I've already done 3 interviews today with other outlets, and I've got another one scheduled tomorrow morning. I always love when somebody says, "Hey, can you do something Friday?" No. "Hey, can you do something Saturday?" No. I'll do something Saturday.
Yeah. Can you do something Saturday? Okay. Good Lord. If you're in the stadium somewhere.
Well, no, but I will do, I'll do one because
Ohio State.
Paul asked me to do it. Paul asked me to any of my broadcasting brethren asked me to do one.
Sure.
Like, Dave Ennett when I was at Northwestern, Brian Barnhart when I was at Illinois. It's like, that's an automatic. Rob Brooks with Iowa. It's Gary Dolphin, but Rob is the one that does the announcing for them. Did one with Tony Caridi for West Virginia. So you always do that for them. Sure. Always.
Absolutely.
Because Paul's coming on our show on Friday, for goodness sake.
That's exactly Ohio State.
Now I'm recording it on Wednesday. Hey, so everybody knows. It's not because I'm traveling Friday. But, right. So that's no big deal.
Right.
I mean, that's different than, "Hey, I've got a show." Hey, well, good luck to you. There's a big wide world of guests out there.
I've got a show. It's I just found out yesterday Penn State's playing Ohio State October 21st.
Do you have time to be on Dayton? Like, not really. No. Now, Scott Farrell asked me one time on a Friday night to do his show on CBS, and I did it. But I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's a different ball game than, like, I'm Mike from Dayton. Like, oh, well, that's great. Yeah. It's like, I go to my phone, like, your name didn't come up here. Now, Scott calls, I would do it, right? Because I've done it before. That's fine. I'm no big deal. I'm awake. Yeah. At least I think I am. We could debate it. What is the Friday night game this week, by the way?
The Friday night college game? I'm not sure on. I've been so locked into the...
I mean, God, I ask you simple questions. I try to keep the questions as simple as possible.
I have literally been locked in. Started my preparations for this game have long been, but started ratcheting it up here. Saturday night, pretty much. Let's see where we're at here. Friday night.
No, it's not, whomever it is, it's not ranked.
I was going to say, because I see, that's...
Whomever it is, it's not ranked. So let's just go to, who would play on a Friday night? Let's see, the Pac-12 would play Friday night.
Pac-12 would play Friday night, absolutely.
All their games are Saturday. Okay. The Big Ten might have a Friday night game.
Especially when you're not want to interfere with...
Nope, all those games are Saturday.
Man.
Okay. Running out of people.
Let's see what we got here. October 20th.
ACC. Let's try that.
Here we go. Week 8. Let's see what we got here.
Because I'll watch the Friday night game.
SMU and Temple is the Friday night game, it appears.
I think I might get a good night's sleep.
I was thinking that, too. I'll be in the fine area of Mechanicsburg in Cumberland Valley.
Wow. Yeah, no offense. I had very little interest in that.
Yeah. Well, let's hope State High is there 2 times this year.
Right.
Let's hope.
Brock Bowers is out 4 to 6 weeks, surgery on an ankle sprain. Tanner Mordecai, the Wisconsin quarterback, is out with a broken hand. And Duke has Florida State this week. And there you are. The games on Saturday, besides Penn State, Ohio State, you got UCF, Oklahoma, Air Force, Navy. Washington State, Oregon. That actually is an interesting game. Washington State's going to hit the skids. Alabama, Tennessee is the 3:30 game.
That's the 3:30 game.
That's the third Saturday in October game right there. South Carolina, Missouri. North Texas, Tulane. Minnesota, Iowa. Hold on a second. Jack has me trained on this. What's the over and under? What the heck? Oh.
Fortunately, I'm like you. I do not worry about that stuff, or I would be more broke than I already am.
So Jack asked me before the game on Saturday, he says, Steve, what's the over-under on Wisconsin, Iowa? I said,
could not have been high.
I said, it's got to be in the mid-30s somewhere. Well, it turned out it was 35.
35.
And they combined to get 21.
15-6.
Well, what's the over and under on Minnesota, Iowa? Well, I just looked it up. 32 and a half.
Oh, my goodness. That's awful.
You got to be kidding me.
Awful.
You got to be kidding me. Texas is playing Houston, okay? And that's a Big 12 game. Virginia, North Carolina. North Carolina's playing great. That's on the CW, by the way, at 6:30, if you want to lock in on that. No?
No, I don't think so.
What kind of fan are you? Ole Miss, Auburn. Michigan, Michigan State. I was talking to the Michigan State guys today. They said, all right, last 2 years something has happened. He says, what do you think the odds are something happens outside of football in this game? I said, this time 0.
0, I would think, yeah.
I think 0. I think this is going to be best behavior.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think anything. I don't want to say nothing could happen, but you can't top what has happened at Michigan State already. You just can't. No,
I think both sides are going to play it real cool.
You're not going to have tunnel fights either. You're not going to have any kind of.
At Michigan State, you do come out of the same tunnel.
Yep.
Okay, at Michigan State, the same thing happens there as Michigan. You come out of the same tunnel.
Same tunnel.
Duke, Florida State, Army, LSU, Utah, USC. That should be a good one.
I think it's the third game on Fox.
Yeah, it's Fox.
Yep.
Arizona State, Washington. That's the late game on Fox Sports 1. And UCLA, Stanford is on ESPN. So there you are. Those are the games coming up this weekend. The Phillies Look, it really helps first pitch.
Yeah.
And Schwarber homers.
Yeah.
It really helps that Harper takes one and hits it 420 feet. Castellanos hit another home run, but then Arizona kind of steadied the ship a bit, and they got a 2-run homer. They knocked in another run. Kind of put some game pressure on the Phillies. Phillies responded, but they're up 1-0. And they've got Nola going tonight, Aaron Nola. So And Texas is up 2-0 on Houston. The weird thing about Houston is this. Houston is 2 games over 500 at home this year.
1-3 in playoffs.
Right? They're 13 games over 500 on the road.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
It's interesting about the Astros.
Yeah, it's
very interesting. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Texas with the pitching. You've gone out and you
throwing your
put
best.
Montgomery out there. Montgomery has never as a win-loss, has never lost a postseason game. Evaldi, we already know that he has had great success pitching in the postseason. Well, now you're going to get to games 3, 4, and 5, and it's a little different ballgame. You can bring Montgomery back for 5. So we'll see how each manager wants to play it there. Bochy, obviously, has been around the block, gets it. Dusty's
one
been
of the
around
very
the block,
best to ever do it.
Gets it. And
I don't think Bruce Bochy gets the credit he deserves. That guy he's taken 3 teams now to the World Series.
Excuse me. He'll get the credit he deserves because he is going to go into Cooperstown.
Well, Well, absolutely.
Okay, so
I would hope
he will get the credit he deserves.
I would hope so.
He's going to Cooperstown.
He is phenomenal, and stepping away from the game for a few years was very good for him, and he obviously didn't miss a beat coming back to Texas. But
what does he do? Now, and it's not going to be perfect because you have to have certain people that are special at this to do it this way. All right? So not everybody can do this. But he manages the game by feel.
Yeah.
And it is what and his success, because he does that, has made such a difference. Now, not everybody can do that, all right? So please, I'm not in any way dissing analytics. I'm telling you how he does it.
Yeah.
And Dusty's kind of the same way. And I feel like Rob Thompson does that.
Topper does,
right?
Absolutely.
Now, Torey Lovello is probably the more analytics guy of the 4 managers left in there.
Yep.
But again, we saw with the Chargers last night.
Oregon on Saturday.
The full array of the Brandon Staley era on the line, a 20-17 loss.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Oregon, same thing on Saturday. Just at some point, I hate to say it, look, these coaches have forgotten more football than I know. But the other part of it, at this point, I hate to literally say use your head, but at this point, a lot of times, that's what you have to do in situations. Don't always rely on analytics. Are they good? Are analytics good? Sure. But they're good at times. Common sense is going to tell you what you need to do on 4th down, where your location is on the ball. Don't necessarily use analytics every time.
Well, I always take this part into account, though, when it comes to analytics. And a coach makes a decision like Dan Lanning did.
Yeah, made two or three.
The one at the end of the first half is the one I would question.
That's the one I was looking at.
Question more at the end of the game. They know their team better than anybody.
They do.
Which means they know the issues. They know all the pluses.
And the minuses.
But they know all the issues, too. And sometimes you make a decision because of your issues. And that does come into play with decisions that are made. And I don't think that's brought up enough. That everybody would say, well, that was an analytics decision. Well, it may have been a decision based on, I don't like what I'm seeing from my team in a couple spots. All right? I don't trust my defense on this particular day as much. Penix is killing my team at quarterback. Okay? And so sometimes that enters into it where we need to ask that question. Hey, Dan, was that your decision in the fourth quarter? For you, what was the balance between the analytics of the decision and the Michael Penix part of the decision about how he was playing in that particular day, and how did you factor it to go for it on 4th down? And he may tell you it had nothing to do with analytics because of the way Penix was playing. I felt we needed to get the first down and end the game. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And So we can't always assume a decision is made because that's what analytics says to do. Sometimes it has to do with, I know my team, I'm watching the game, and guess what? This gives me the best chance to win because, and that's the key, that sometimes is not brought into account because they know their team and they know on a particular day something is not working and we can't cover it up, right? Because part of what you do in coaching, you are trying to cover up
absolutely
issues,
your weaknesses, sure.
Right? I mean, you do that for an hour every day with me.
It's a hard job, when you cover up my weaknesses, it is tough to do. You need more than an hour.
Right.
An hour a day is just not enough.
Right. I mean,
in the words of the Beatles, 8 days a week, maybe.
Look at all the covering up for me you have to do. Whew.
The opposite way for me.
Boy, I hate to be in your shoes. All right, so, but that's something that's not talked about enough. I feel like in this business, a lot of time is spent talking about the simple.
Yeah.
And that's where hot takes come in. Mm-hmm. Hot takes are the simple.
Yeah, sure.
Right, so should Bill Belichick be fired? Okay, so let's take that's the simple. Should Kirk Cousins be traded by Minnesota? That's the simple. And this business is dominated by a lot of that. Mm-hmm. So when they analyze a game, analytics, boy, so many games are lost by analytics. Well, it may not have been an analytics decision. He may have sat there and said, we can't cover, we can't, we got a couple of problems over here against Penix and we can't cover them up. Look, our best chance to win is to get a first down here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that an analytics decision? No. It's a game decision. Now, I don't know what Lanning's...
No.
Because I haven't listened to the press conference, and I don't know. But it's something that has to be taken into account and asked.
Yeah.
Not just why did you do that? It's like, what were the factors that went into the decision, to go for it? And then you can ask, okay, and what didn't go right with the play call?
Yeah.
Okay?
And there are some.
And that opens the door for them to talk about it any way they wish.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some where, look, analytics is admitted. It's literally the admittance. You go back to Gabe Kapler's first game managing the Phillies, taking Aaron Nola out. He sat behind the podium and told us that's what analytics told him. And in that case, that's where it gets frustrating. I think as a fan especially, or when you lose the game, it's frustrating for a lot of people. But I think that's the one thing where you look at it and say, okay, use your head. Just use your judgment there.
I'm reading the message from Jack. It's all good.
There you go.
It's all good.
There you go. He's not thinking of the over in Iowa, is he?
No. He wanted to know when you were going to resign.
When I was going to resign? Oh, man.
Well.
I can't. I'll tell you. I see a lot of. There's major picket line out there too. My goodness.
Let's see. Big Ten Network wrestling schedule. Okay, so here we go. Lehigh Penn State's on BTN on December 3rd.
This could give us our answer to why.
Penn State is at Michigan on January 19th at 6 o'clock BTN. Ding, 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 ding. Penn State at Maryland on Sunday the 28th at noon. Ohio State, Penn State on Friday at 6:30 on February 2nd. Penn State at Iowa on the 9th at 9 o'clock, which that was an automatic. We already knew that. And that And Rutgers at
Okay,
Penn State.
it is. Okay.
Rutgers at
Yeah.
Penn State on Monday
That's
the 12th.
where I suspected is why that was a Monday dual meet, because Jordan,
But Monday's the day that they don't usually play basketball either.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
It probably Saturday and Sunday was occupied by basketball on BTN, so you had to go Monday to get the TV. That was my thought. I looked at it initially and thought Monday, and then that was my thought, was exactly that. Basketball is probably occupying Saturday, Sunday, so to get it on TV is probably why Penn State Wrestling is facing Rutgers in the dual meet at the BJC on a Monday. That I suspected was the case. I don't know for sure, but
And Nebraska at Penn State on Sunday the 18th of February at 4 o'clock is on BTN.
a lot of good ones.
Yeah. Well, in this conference,
It's tough.
in this conference, that's what's made Penn State's run even more impressive.
Absolutely.
It's not as if they've run through a mediocre conference.
No, and they've lost the conference at times because you sacrifice that conference to better yourself and get ready for the national championship. And that's what this team has done. It's absolutely remarkable. The word dynasty, I think it's thrown around way too much in sports. This is a dynasty. This is absolutely one where Penn State wrestling is something we will be talking about for many years to come, what Cale Sanderson's done here.
Yeah, and that's going to be what they've done is special.
Absolutely.
Because remember, the personnel changes over all the time. With all the personnel changes, now the coaching staff hasn't.
No.
But the personnel, I mean, you're trying to do this with different people, different years. And you'll get a run with somebody where, like, say they have 3 great years as an individual.
Yep.
But it still changes over.
Right.
I mean, David Taylor isn't here anymore. They're still winning.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ed Ruth isn't here anymore.
Yep.
They're still winning.
Yep.
Zane Rutherford, right? Still winning. Right? Jason Dolph, they're still winning.
Yep. Nickel. Yep.
Bo Nickel, they're still winning.
Yeah.
Right? And that, but to do it in this conference where every single time you're facing excellent competition and your singlet says Penn State on it.
Yep.
Which automatically means you're going to get their best.
Absolutely.
You're going to get their best.
Night in and night out.
All right. This is my opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of my opportunity. Right.
Yep.
And then it's over and like, well, I had my opportunity. It didn't work out so well.
And it's a big year. It really is. And you don't think about the individual accomplishments just yet, but you look, you can't be, as a fan, you can't help but notice. You have the opportunity for Carter Strachey to have number 4 this year.
Yeah.
Aaron Brooks has the chance to be a 4-time national champion.
Sure.
Yeah, this is great moments. And, for Carter Strachey, if he wanted to, I don't know if he would. He could technically be a 5-time champion.
Sure.
He'd come back. But I think when you look at the long list of great wrestlers, past and present, that have graced the mat at the NCAA level, period, not just at Penn State, there are not many 4-time national champions, NCAA champions. That is an exceptional accomplishment, and that's something potentially that they're striving for this year.
Yeah. And the Olympic trials are here this month.
Yeah.
Next year.
Looking
too.
forward to those. Unfortunately, pandemic didn't allow us to get that get that here. Now
Well, now we can do it.
you do it. Exactly. In a much better
It's fine.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can do it.
Now at some point, NCAA wrestling get the Big Ten's championships back here into what will be a full house.
Well, yeah, but they do that on a rotating basis.
They do.
I mean, so you have to do it every 13 years.
I think there's a chance it will be here before the 13-year mark, knowing the circumstances that were there in 2021. But, yeah, it's not going to be next year, I don't think, at least.
Right. So, but, yeah, that's what they need to do. And Oregon, Washington, and USC and UCLA don't have wrestling, so they aren't even remotely affected by this.
Nope.
It's just going to stay the same. It's still going to be great in the same 14 outstanding teams. So, James Franklin will have his press conference today. Look, you have to, and these are good things. I mean, you're trying to make sure your program is out there and portrayed in the best light. So, I mean, he'll have his press conference today. you know darn well he'll have to do something for ESPN Game Day. You know he'll have to do something for Big Noon Kickoff because their show's 10 to noon. So they're both going to be there. So the exposure is going to be great. The ultimate exposure is going to be what you do between noon and 4 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And go from there. You've got a lot of interesting matchups in a game like this. And they have done Ohio State showed a lot by what they did and how they came back against Notre Dame. Now, did Notre Dame make mistakes? Yes. Notre Dame made mistakes. Marcus Freeman made a couple of calls where you're like, are you sure you want to do that? And, of course, the 10 guys in the field for the last 2 plays. Okay. So Ohio State caught some breaks.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
In that game. I mean, there's no question about it, but you have to take advantage of the breaks too, which they did.
Sure, good teams do.
And they won the
game.
And I've talked about this in past Penn State-Ohio State games, that it comes into play here. I mean, you got to be able to come up with that one play each half that's a difference-making play. That has been the difference. You can sit there and, and Penn State's record against Ohio State with James Franklin is blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, okay. That's all factual. I got it. But at the same time, take a deep dive into the games. They've almost all of them. Almost. 20 was not. 20 was a weird year. I don't want to get into that. That was so strange. I felt like I was in a surreal world every game I did.
Sure.
But these games have all been really close. And it's always been a play each half.
Yeah.
All right, okay. In 16 when Penn State won, Penn State's the one that made the play each half. The Godwin play at the end of the first half, the Marcus Allen Grant Haley block for a touchdown, you make big plays. And, then the next year Penn State goes out there, they've got the lead, and Denzel Ward blocks a punt.
That was huge.
Right? Yep. And that turned the game around. That's like that one play each half, all right? And that's been the difference between the two teams. They've, Ohio State, to its credit, most of the time has found that play each half.
Yeah, the scoop and score, whatever year that was, 2 years prior, I think.
Yeah. Something like that happens. You look at the Maryland game, for example. So Ohio State's playing Maryland. Maryland's controlling the game. They're controlling the tone, tenor of the game. Ohio State's struggling to run the ball. And Tagovailoa throws an interception, and Proctor runs it back for a touchdown. Suddenly, a sideline that was a flat line now is energized, juiced, got him back into the game. And then, of course, Maryland made the bad play at the end of the first half where you either throw it out of bounds or you throw it beyond the end zone unless somebody's open and throw it to them. Right? And that way you run the field goal unit out and you give yourself a chance to take the lead with a relatively short field goal. Instead, he throws it in the field of play, gets tackled at the 10-yard line, half's over. Okay. Really? Wow. And this is a game where, in the first half, you felt like, who's the better team? Well, the better team was the team in the white jerseys. It was Maryland.
Absolutely was.
But why is the game tied? Who made the mistakes? The big mistakes. When they weren't making mistakes, they were playing really well, but they made the big mistakes. It allowed Ohio State to hang in there and then finally get some control in the second half and win the game. Okay. And that's what happens. See, the difference is most teams go in there and they're down 10-0 before the game starts. Right. This is hard. Oh, boy, it's a big game. I hope we can, It's like, well, guess what? Oregon, Michigan, and Penn State don't do that. They go and go, okay, let's play ball and see what we got.
Yep.
Okay. Doesn't mean it works out every time, but all three of them go in there with that attitude. Oregon won. Michigan, after all those losses, finally broke through and won. People forget in 2016, let's face it, Michigan has Ohio State. They got them. And then Ohio State made a big play at the end of regulation, then made the big play in overtime. They won. That opened the door for Penn State to beat Michigan State to win the Big Ten title. right? But they went toe-to-toe with them because they're not intimidated by them, and Ohio State's not intimidated by them. Well, Ohio State's not intimidated by Penn State, and Penn State's not intimidated by Ohio State. That's what makes the game so great, right? Because both teams are like, okay, let's play ball, see who's better today. As opposed to most teams go in there, they're down 10-0, hoping they can win the game.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Hoping they'll win.
Yep.
Right? And the first big mistake they make, that's it.
That's it. They're done. Yep,
done.
Exactly.
Day's done. Played perfect for 3 quarters. Big mistake. We're dead. Oh, okay. Great. So,
there's so many cliches in sports sometimes that are accurate. Bad teams find ways to lose games. They do. And the teams that are intimidated just aren't prepared. And that's where it falls into play. You look at, psychologically.
Of it, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, psychologically, you make a mistake, it's in your head the rest of the day. And you have no chance. That's not what good teams do. And that's what makes good teams reach that great status. And that's where these, obviously the Big Three and the Big Ten are at that status now at this point. And you're looking at a lot of teams outside that are at that point.
Right. And that's, look, both teams are talented.
Sure.
They're really talented. I mean, so you want defensive backs? How about Denzel Burke, Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, Josh Proctor? You want linebackers? Tommy Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, Abdul Carter, Curtis Jacobs. How about guys that can rush the quarterback? I don't know. Tyleik Williams, JTT, Denai Dennis Sutton, Chop Robinson, Adisa Isaac.
Yep.
Okay. How about tight ends? Cade Stover, Theo Johnson, Tyler Warren. Okay. How about running backs? Travion Henderson, right? Dallin Hayden, I think he'll play more.
I think he will.
Right.
Yep.
And Nicholas Singleton and Kate Allen. Okay. How about wide receivers? Keandre Lambert-Smith, Harrison Wallace, Marvin Harrison, right? Emeka Ibuka.
If he plays, hopefully he plays.
Yeah. I think if he does play, the concession will probably be take him off punt return.
Yeah.
Take him off punt return.
Yep.
And Ballard, Jaden Ballard would be the punt returner. I think if he plays, that would be the concession to him playing.
Yep.
But I'm saying, you got star power all over the place.
Absolutely.
Star power everywhere.
And you have
Olu Fashanu, you got one of the top offensive linemen in the country sitting right there.
Yep.
Star power.
Yep. And you have 2 quarterbacks that I think had the unknown in the beginning of the year that have obviously stepped up to the challenge.
Yeah.
And McCord, I think, has gotten exponentially better in the last couple of games, and Aller has played great all year.
Yeah. I mean, McCord's thrown for over 200 in 5 of the 6 games they've played. Now, he doesn't move it,
No, he
doesn't. I'll say this about Stroud. I thought Stroud always moved well in the pocket, but Stroud was not a runner.
Not a runner, no.
That's why when he took off in the Georgia game at the end.
The big run.
Right? Jack and I are watching the game in the restaurant, and the two of us looked at it and said, well, where's that been for 2 years? All right? And he took off and he set up, what they hoped would be the game-winning field goal, and turned out it missed. But McCord is not a runner.
No.
He's good in the pocket, but when you do pressure him, he does not make the best throws.
Right.
Conversely, Drew has had so far a pocket where Penn State quarterbacks have been sacked a total of 4 times so far this season. And UMass got there. That was the 4th one. And amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, McCord, to his credit, has shown he can step up in the moment where you're under pressure, and did that against Notre Dame on a 2-minute drive. So I think it's going to be a great game to see. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think
it's the game we all expected, right?
Absolutely. It is the game. I think you fully expected both teams would be exactly where they are coming into this game. There's no doubt about it. I think it was definitely the game that everyone expected, and to Fox's credit, they're going to have a pretty darn high rating. Not that they weren't going to already. They are going to absolutely have a very high rating at noon. There is very little competition that day at noon on television.
No, they have exactly what they want.
Yep. And those complaining about it being noon, I understand your frustration, but you're not going head-to-head with Alabama, Tennessee. I think Penn State, Ohio State's the better game, but you want to put it in it, you want to showcase it. And Fox is doing that and doing a good job of it.
Well, look, we can complain all we want about it, which I don't complain about. I really, I just show up when they tell me to show up
exactly,
at work.
and we got to work no matter what.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm used to it. Basketball.
Sure.
I've done basketball games at 10:30 in the morning where the airtime was 9:30, and I've done games at midnight where the airtime was 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because tournaments, things like that. It happens.
Yeah.
So what time the game starts doesn't mean anything to me. The fans, look, noon's tough, especially at home. Now, I don't think it's tough when it's on the road. I mean,
no, I don't either.
To be honest with you. Well, I'm talking about from the fan point
from a
of
fan's
view.
perspective, yeah.
And I'm like, look, this is the part that people don't talk about out loud, but I'm going to talk about it out loud.
Yeah.
Okay? Guess what? For everybody who loves women's volleyball, soccer, baseball, softball, field hockey,
sure,
gymnastics, ice hockey, okay, women's basketball.
Yep.
How do you pay for it?
Yep. Any sport not named men's basketball and men's hockey. Yep.
How do you pay for it?
Yep.
Well, guess what? You have a better chance of competing in all those sports because of the TV contract. TV contract is not just going to a Swiss bank account.
No.
Right? The TV contract is not just going, where it's just being hoarded and only football is getting it.
Right.
No. Hey, it's going there to help everything across the board.
Yeah.
Right? And give you a better shot. Right? Because let's go back to UCLA. UCLA felt they had to make this move. In the end, it was an incredibly intelligent move for them. Because between football attendance and the pandemic, when the day they announced they were going to the Big Ten, they were $104 million in the red. I mean, not a small number.
No.
104 in the red. By making this move, and they will get a full share right out of the gate when they get in next year. By making this move now, they can get themselves back on track because the thought process was they were going to have to drop 5 to 7 sports. So for all the talk about the travel, nobody brings up how many athletes may have lost their scholarship if they didn't make the move.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, USC wasn't in that boat. They're a private institution, so I don't know what their finances happen to be.
They should be fine.
Right?
Yeah.
But I don't know what their finances
are.
I mean, because it's like Northwestern. We don't know what Northwestern's numbers are. They're a private institution.
Right.
They don't have to put them out there. But UCLA, being, let's face it, they are the definition of a state university, has to put their finances out there. And, the options were simple for them. Do this or drop 5 to 7 sports. That's where they were. When you're $104 million in the red, status quo doesn't work. Okay? Oh, we're going to stay in the Pac-12. We'll all be fine. And they're going to, no, we're not going to be fine. We're going to lose money. I can't justify keeping 7 of you. So that hurts coaches, assistant coaches, trainers, student athletes losing scholarships. Now, many of the would be partials, but it still comes up, right, where you're not competing. You'll have to transfer, figure out what to do. If you want to compete, you're really not going to stay. And that's what this came down to for them. Right? And it's never brought up. And that's what the TV contract saves all that. UCLA doesn't have to drop any sports to do this.
No.
They don't have to cut any scholarship off to do this. Now, will there be sacrifices and travel needed, which is being brought up over and over and over and over again? There are ways of doing it. I am confident they will come up with a way to make this work. I felt they did a great job with the first football schedule, right? Then Oregon and Washington were added in. I thought they did a great job with the second football schedule. Now, Penn State's going to have to make a West Coast trip each of the 5 years of the schedule. 2 to USC, 1 to UCLA, 1 to Washington, 1 to Oregon. So in the 5 years, they have to do that, right? And it's 1 a year. Now, the problem is going to be the number of times they have to come here. There's going to be years where USC and UCLA are going to have to make 4 trips east because they play each other, so they're not going to have to play right? Where they're going to have to make 4 trips east, and there's going to be other years where they're going to have to make 3. Right? So, now in basketball, look, they're going to be 10, but in my opinion, they're going to each make 5 trips east. Because I think you're going to play 2 games at once.
Yeah.
Now, the key is, what do you do with the other sports? Okay. So I've talked about this before, but I'll bring it up again anyway. And this is just me spitballing against the wall. This is no inside information or anything like that. 2 things that if I'm sitting in the room, they say, what ideas do you have?
Yep.
Here are the 2 I have off the top of my head about what to do with the other sports. Number 1, go with 3 divisions, 6 in each, regionalized. Where USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, Nebraska, and I don't know, pick Iowa or Minnesota are all in one. This is for other sports. 6 in the middle, the 6 in the east. And that's your competition pod, allowing to play 1 game or 1 series or whatever it may be with the Midwest division and 1 with the West. That way you've got still some connection. You only have to do it, okay?
Yeah, sure.
And somebody comes here or something, whatever. And then that block schedule. Okay, everybody, West Coast trip this year is USC, UCLA. We're going to take the soccer team, women's soccer team, men's soccer team, women's volleyball team, cross-country team, 1 plane out, 1 hotel, right? Oh, by the way, Ohio State's also going. So, quote, we're going to play UCLA first. They're going to play USC. Then, same weekend, boom. Now, Ohio State's going to play UCLA, their teams, and Penn State's going to play USC. Or you can mix it up between, it doesn't matter who's doing what, okay? But, all right, and I think that's how you have to do it.
Absolutely.
It cuts down on travel. And the same thing for them coming east. Hey, come east, you're going to play Maryland, Rutgers. Okay, go back. You're going to come east, you're going to play Ohio State, Penn State. Okay, I think you've got to be able to do that and think in those terms. And for people worried about academics, well, no offense, but why do you have academic centers? Why do you have academic advisors? All right, make them earn their money and go out and make it work. Have study halls on the road. Have an academic advisor with them. Keep them on track. Right? Isn't that part of what they're supposed to do? Right? I don't want to make the job seem simplistic.
Right.
But sometimes things are simplistic.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's not as if Penn State's in the NIT, for example. I can remember that they had a mandatory study hall on the off day between the semifinal game and the championship game. Okay. They had a mandatory study hall. Okay. All right. It's not like I've never seen it before. It's not like I've never seen study hall on the road before for road games. I've seen it.
It happens. Absolutely.
Now, did I attend it? No.
Yeah, those days ended for me a while ago.
I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah.
Go to lunch.
that piece of paper I spent a lot of money on shows I'm done.
Already did my deal.
Yes.
Sheepskin, finished.
Yes.
But I know it happens.
No, absolutely.
I've seen it. So, do you have to hire maybe more academic advisors? Okay. Maybe you do. But there are ways to do it. Because Dennis Thurman, the former USC All-American defensive back who played 9 years in the NFL, 8 of them with the Cowboys, 1 with the Cardinals, tortured your 49ers.
He did.
Yes. Superior player.
The Brett Favre of the past.
Yeah. Right. He's been out in coaching for a long time. Right. He's coached a lot in the NFL with several stops, and now he's doing the college thing. And he got hooked in with Deion Sanders at Jackson State, and now he's quality control. All right, at Colorado. And he got up on Friday. You want to talk about foreshadowing? He said, "Look, I don't like how you guys practice." He says, "You guys all say that you love football." He says, "I don't see that either." So you seem to love all the other things except football. He's telling him this.
Mm-hmm.
He said, 98% of you are not going to the league. He said, okay. He said, he's looking around the room. He says, 98% of you are not going to the league. You'll get a shot at the league. The vast majority of you will be cut. Like, pretty blunt. He said, you need a plan. You need a plan. He said, plan for football, plan for life. Well, that's the same story with this here. When people talk about the value of academics and football, and everything's football, or basketball, or whatever it may be. Well, 98% of them are not going to go and make the league.
Right.
And we praised the Saquon Barkleys and the Micah Parsons. Now Tariq Castro Fields he's back playing with Washington now, which is great. But 95 to 98% of the guys are not going to get that shot. In Penn State basketball, 2 guys got drafted in the same draft, first time ever. They're both going to make it. Okay. Pickett is definitely going to be in the opening day roster for Denver. And
Lundy's played well in the preseason.
Lundy's had a great preseason where he's got that 2-way contract, but he's going to play in the league. A guy like Andrew Funk already had his degree anyway. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to end up in the G League. Mm-hmm. Right? And by the way, before the season's out, I think we'll play in the NBA.
Yep.
Because he's got that shot.
The shot, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
But look at the long list of guys that played in Europe, played in Uruguay, played in Japan, and not in the league. It's hard to get there. So Dennis Thurman was right. He says, you need to have a plan. You need to be a little more organized, right? Stop living off laurels you haven't earned. Then they went out and had a 29-0 lead and then lost. Now, supposedly, was Sanders doing something at halftime? I'm talking about Shador.
Yeah, I don't know. I admittedly fell asleep and thought that game was in the bag.
Well, no, it's 14-0, and Stanford missed a field goal. Said, you know what, I got a game tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm going
that's
to sleep.
what I thought. And I'm thinking, I got to get up early tomorrow. I'm going to sleep.
My brother stayed up and watched all of it. He says it was unbelievable. Let me. I think he did something about. They claim now. Who knows if he was doing it or not? Hawking something at halftime, and it may have been somebody. Okay, Shador Sanders selling merch on IG at halftime.
Jeez.
Now, one of his buddies may have been doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
To make matters worse, it appears that Deion Sanders' son and starting quarterback Shador Sanders posted a link to his merchandise on his Instagram during halftime. Whether that was him or someone else posting it. Again, that's the key. Nobody knows if he's the one that posted it. I can't imagine he did that.
I can
imagine somebody within his circle did it. Okay? Now that makes complete sense because they do have people who work for them, I guess. I don't know if they're on salary or not. I mean, I know I work for you. One of the most frightening things. No, I'm just kidding. But I just want to praise you for getting this thing on the air today. Because I found that more entertaining than the show.
There you go.
Because watching you struggle, because first of all, you had to get yourself out of Minecraft. Then.
That's right. I never understand like these online games. I see like I buy somebody a gift card for the holidays. I see like a $25 gift card to like, oh, he's gonna crop this and this with this gift card thing. What? Can't you just use it, get groceries?
Don't look at me.
I have that is one era of time that has passed me by. I can guarantee you on that one.
Don't look at me. No.
Yeah,
idea.
Those listeners are probably looking at me saying, "How do you not know?" Well, I don't.
I know I don't. Gee whiz. It's not like I can't handle technology. I use it all the time.
No, it's like a car. When it's working, it's great. When it doesn't, forget about it. It's trouble.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow we'll have Neil Coulong, Tommy McCarthy, Chris Wheeler tomorrow.
Nice.
So a lot of Philly stuff just for you.
Looking forward to it.
I'd have somebody from the 49ers on right now, but every response I got was they're too depressed.
They're too depressed, then who is the other guy that does the show with you? Forget about it.
Oh, Catrillo? He's an Eagles guy.
No. I was talking about that.
Oh, Kyle? Oh, yeah.
No, not even Kyle. 49ers aren't going to worry about the two of them. They're going to see my name and get the restraining order.
Oh, good Lord. And it is a restraining order that is needed.
I'll tell you. Only fair. No violations on it so far, so that's why I'm here.
Why do you think Harbaugh has as many police around him when they come in here? Because he used to coach the 49ers, and you are there. All right, talk to you tomorrow.